Aside from actually listening to the show, they watched me mix, and that when I reached for a knob on the Midas, that when I turned it even minimally, they actually heard the result. Hey, I'm Robert Thomas. I'm the front of house engineer for the band W.A.S.P on the 40 Years Live World Tour 2023.
My name is Patrick König. I'm from Berlin. I'm the production manager for W.A.S.P here, and I also run the monitors on this tour. I was on a tour in Frankfurt, and after the show we went back to the hotel and I got a phone call of a friend of mine. Hey, there's a band called W.A.S.P. They need a monitor engineer and a drum tech. And are you interested in doing this? So why not? I have time.
I was a big fan, and I happened to know the tour manager who had been working with W.A.S.P for many, many years. And some years ago, I made mention that if W.A.S.P ever tours again, that I really wanted to do sound for W.A.S.P. And the opportunity arose before COVID in 2019. After that, Blackie decided to do the 40-year anniversary tour and rung me up and said he wouldn't take no for an answer.
We are using two consoles here, two HD96, one at front of the house, one on the stage.
We have those networked together. I'm on the multi-mode fiber from front of house to stage with the Technique 9680 using two DL231s.
Everybody has his own preamps. So basically, yeah, we're splitting digital.
I'm using all internal effects and processing that's on board with the Midas HD96. System processing for me is done with Ocean EQ, and all time-based effects and any plugins are all on board. Part of my setup on the HD96 is I use the Technique Dante card, and it was a matter of 2 screws, pop it in, and within about 10 minutes I had a record and playback session set up for virtual sound checks on the HD96, which in itself is a fantastic tool outside of being able to speak Dante to many different types of gear, but primarily as a tool to be offline editing and building and working on the show without the band has been easy and very, very helpful.
The band is not on IEMs. They use classical monitor rock and roll wedges. We have 7 mixes on stage, simple setup. We have 3 wedge mixes in the front. We have a drum fill and side fills. That's basically it.
For me, it was the Midas heritage, coming from Midas analog as a younger engineer, moving into the digital world, and what Midas brought to the digital world with the HD96, keeping a lot of that analog sense.
The HD is a pretty nice tool, I must say. I'm using Midas consoles for a long time actually, and I started using Midas consoles on the W.A.S.P tour as well. 2013, 2014, I started to take a Pro 2 out first. And then ever since, the band loves the sound of those consoles, so that's why we are using it here now also again.
I've been able to use the Midas HD96 as a standalone tool, not having to lean upon any third-party vendor for any tools that I may need to getting the job done at front of house. Some of the largest challenges as a front of house engineer with any band is environmental, and that changes every day. We try to keep as much stuff as we can consistent for the band's brand, and for the fans of the show. Environmentally, today we may be in a big warehouse, arena dome. The next day we may be outdoors or in the smaller clubs. And environmentally, that's important that you try to keep that as consistent you can for the fans and the artists.
The biggest challenges with W.A.S.P is getting the wedges as loud as possible, especially for the lead vocals. I must say the preamps are really, really good of this console. They are sounding really good. The EQs are fantastic, especially also that I'm able to use Ocean EQs on the console. That helps me in a good, solid way, I would say.
I like to walk in and meet the room, meet the environment that I have to challenge myself in and put the band in that day and every day. I'm not a clapper. Some guys go into the room and, clap and listen to the acoustical environment that they have to throw up a mix in. But I tend to look around and look at the walls, look at the ceiling and the stage and kind of stuff, and kind of get an idea already the challenges I'm up against with the room and the PA. Building a level of trust definitely helps the technical aspect, meeting the creative aspect. every day, whether it's stage volumes or tones that may have worked in a studio for an artist, or the tone that they're imagining they want to get has to be slightly modified in order to put it in different environments every day. And that comes from a level of trust and trusting that you're going to take what they've given you and be able to take that into the show.
I started in the music business or in the live audio business 23 years ago. I finished my school and then I graduated, and then I found a rental company in Berlin, Sound and Light, and then I went through the whole process. And during that time, I ended up doing sound. So that's always what I like to do.
How did I first become interested in sound engineering? I guess I wasn't a good enough musician to hang out with the rest of my friends. I did see the fact that I could actually make money and pay for my beer tab at the end of the night as opposed to being a musician. Growing up in the 70s/80s, 90s, all three of those eras of music were fantastic. Growing up with fantastic music experience. We didn't have internet, so we had music, and there wasn't much TV. We had 4 channels, so music was the drive on both ends for me getting into this industry. I couldn't wait for Christmas to receive my first Fisher PH405, which was a hi-fi detachable speaker dual cassette deck boombox. And I got that, and it was one of the best sounding things that you could carry around and listen to on the street corner or in the woods.
No day is the same. Of course, you have your routine on the tour, but you're facing everyday new challenges. You meet new people, you get to travel around. If you want to do this job, if you want to be a touring sound engineer, you have to ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Particular, I won't be home sometimes for 3-4 months. Am I a good team player? Because our business is all about teamwork. If you're somebody who likes to work on his own, and if you cannot handle being out with 13, 20, 50 people for like 4 months in a row on minimal spaces, if you cannot handle this, that's not the right job for you.
As a younger engineer, a mentor of mine while on tour once told me that the 5 guys on stage didn't care what brand new piece of outboard gear or microphone or a brand new digital console that they chose, because they'd already entrusted him into getting that live show to where the artist's expectations were. All they wanted to know was that there would be no interruption in the show or sound checks, and know that they've chosen a piece of gear that was solid and got the job done. Midas has been that for decades, with XL and Heritage Series analog consoles moving into the digital world. Is still a piece of gear that's trusted. I know at front of house that gear was going to work and achieve those results day in and day out, show after show.